मी मुद्दाम फोन पण केला सुजाताला सांगायला. मला वाटलं की माझ्याकडनं चुकेल तर सगळ्यांना कळेल की ते मी तुला
Good afternoon. Myself, Vaijayanti Yadav, on behalf of Srimati Manorama Bai Mundle College of Architecture, welcomes you all to the most exciting and inspiring presentations by the renowned architects in webinar series Jaitra, that is Marching Ahead. Architecture cannot be learned in four walls, and learning architecture is a continuous process. In Charles Correa's words, architecture is a language. So this language needs to be studied. To initiate this process of learning architecture, architecture schools plays a vital role. These schools gives directions in understanding the various aspects of architecture, like technology, terminology, and etc. Architecture schools are also great teacher of other life lessons if learned from heart and keeping eye and mind open. After completing the course of architecture and stepping into the ever-changing world, one has to unlearn and relearn. Unlearning is the process of discarding from your memory. When you unlearn something, you forget it or put it aside. But many of us might be having the question, why to unlearn? Because it helps in getting rid of bad habits, preconceived ideas, or the preconceptions. The process of unlearning makes your inner child alive to enhance the creativity. The most overlooked aspect of learning is the process of unlearning. Everyone has acquired knowledge that built their mountain of ideas, some still viable and others outdated. It's the need of the time to embrace continuous learning in order to move forward. One must continue to learn, unlearn, and relearn in order to stay relevant in today's modern digital world. In order to unlearn and move forward, one has to be willing to work through the process. Change is continual, and in order to stay current and not dive into the world of obsolete, unlearning is a vital component of 21st century. Our world is in the constant flux. The most successful person will be the one who learn, unlearn, and relearn and evolve with it. Alvin Toffler, futurist and philosopher, rightly said, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. This is what our today's presenter, architect Devendra Bhavdane and his associate, architect Kusan Shah, are going to present through their professional journey. That is, what they learn in their schools, what they have to unlearn to be more creative, and relearn to be successful. So, Devendra basically, he believes in architecture is an art to experience, and architect is an artist. He studied in Academy of Architecture, Mumbai. As he studied the course in architecture, the whole idea of form, space, and order made him redefine his idea of the word architecture. It was no more restricted to designing structures, engineering, and economy, but it became more about functions, users, and also about the space to be felt, breathed, and absorbed. After finishing the degree course in architecture, he chose to work with Associated Architects firm for professional practice. He did experience the numerous facets of architecture and worked on different levels of process from conceptualization to the finishing stages of the structure. Further work experience in architect Charles Correa Associates added zeal of experience and helped him to set a goal in field and made architecture more approachable than ever. His professional experience has taught him that architecture is an art and it has to be performed within the set constraint, and brought him in contact with people from business, finances, real estate, technicians and engineers, legal consultants and environmental experts, and have made him understand the needs of this industry. This work experience has shaped him to be an independent person and a sensitive architect. He was also associated with the Ellis Raheja School of Architecture on educational fronts. He worked on various projects, high-end residential interiors he did, commercial and retail interiors, residential housings, museums, conservation, and many more projects he did. I request our beloved principal, Dr. Ujjwala Chakradev ma'am, to please welcome him.
Thank you, Vaijayanti. It's again a wonderful session ahead. Jaitra, marching ahead with victory, is what the title suggests. And one of the wonderful sessions or an activity which has been initiated by Dr. Sujata Godbole, a faculty of our college, who has taken up a responsibility of inviting young, talented architects from all over India, and now I would say from outside as well, and acquaint our students with their work. This is an opportunity given to us, I would say, by pandemic. Staying at home, before that, we were so busy with our academic work, completing our syllabus, doing errands, doing things. We were learning, definitely. But I don't know how we have been able to carve out a time when we are at home and we are able to invite experts from the field of architecture and share their experiences with us, with our students. It's really good. And I think it's third one or fourth one in a series. There have been numerous ones. And each and every Jaitra was a moment of learning, moment of experience, as rightly defined by Vaijayanti for Devendra, architect Devendra, that architecture is an art of experiencing. You have to experience it. And I welcome architect Devendra, rest everything to be heard from him. And this is a wonderful platform. I again welcome you, and college is not new to you, Mr. Devendra, because you have been to the college and you have been working with architect Vijay Munshi, who is a faculty of a college, our design chair of a college, and he is taking lots of efforts to improve the general quality of the design of our students at large. Our young teachers are also learning from him, and I know you have also must have learned from him, also from Charles Correa, and that's a wonderful example. And definitely the kind of work which you have been doing, we are all eager to look forward to experience your experiences. So welcome once again, and thank you for at the same time, thank you for accepting our invitation to be with us on this platform. So an exciting hour ahead to all of us. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request architect Devendra Vaghane to start his presentation. Please.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank Manorama Bai Mundle College of Architecture for considering me capable to experience my experiences in the professional world and also architectural experiences. And I would really like to thank for that good introduction, and Principal Ma'am Ujwala Chakradev Ma'am, Architect Sujata Godbole Ma'am, and also my mentor, Architect Munshi Sir, because of whom I think I have got this courage to share my experiences. And I think let's start with the session right now. Yes, I did architecture from Academy of Architecture in 2008, and I think it's 12 years. So I would say in Marathi we say it's a one tap. So that is completed in architecture now. That is a formally into architecture. So let me start sharing my experiences. It's not going to be showing all my projects that I have done, but yes, it's more about focusing towards unlearning because that is what I think is more important. So what do you think is an unlearning? Can you see the network? Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
So what is unlearning? So unlearning is not about forgetting everything. It's about forgetting some part of it to create a new place for the learning. Imagine an painter painting the wall. So he need to do the 70% of a scrapping and make the foundation for the new paint. And actual new painting is only the 30% of the project. So that much is the unlearning important for us. So right now, if you see on the screen, it's only unlearning. It's not about unlearning architecture. So let's talk about unlearning first. So we all know that when we were born, we were of a smaller size, and now we are of different sizes. And this physical attribute that we share or we see or we correspond to are visual. So it is obvious whatever we ate, whatever we drank, that actually became a part of our flesh and blood. And that is how we are changing in size. But what about the mind? That we don't know, because mind never been seen. It cannot be measurable. Imagine we all have drawn some point of a time house, tree, mountains and rivers, sun, and obviously sometimes garnished with birds. And somehow this idea is unique all over the world. I thought it was only my perspective of the house. But when I went and checked everywhere, kids have been painting this kind of houses. Now it's very big and a basic question for me to understand that who actually taught this kind of a houses to us, or it suddenly became to us as an idea of a house. Because someone who stays in the palace also is drawing a similar kind of a house, and someone who is staying in a hut is also drawing a similar kind of a house. So these are the ideas that I'm talking about, which is creating our mind, and we need to cross check that, take out few which are not relative, modify few which are required to be modified, and learn which are required more. So let's start about architectural education. I started learning architecture formally in 2004 and 2009, but what I learned was the syllabus. It was about different subjects: basic design, architectural design, structural design, construction, history, services, building materials, bylaws. And at the end, we all know as a faculty and as the students that we have created a kind of a hierarchy for academic lookout. So design was always given the more importance, then the allied design, then the detailing, and then the services. And even if you ask any students, so they are most focused towards the completing design assignment than the services assignment. I can say this because I have been on both the sides. So I was a student also, and I was teaching in the college also. But when I started doing internship, and then I worked for 1 year in architect, I realized that that academic lookout is completely different than the practical lookout, where design, allied designs, detailing, services, all these subjects were equally important. Rather, sometimes services are more important than the design. Detailing was more important than the design. And henceforth, I completed my 2 years of practical experience. Then there was a fashion that if you have done bachelor's of architecture, you are supposed to do the master's of architecture. So being in the flow, I also applied for an architectural master's in Bartlett, and I got selected for the urban design. got the scholarship also. But maybe the fate has different plans. So that year the scholarship got cancelled and I was too much nervous and I was sitting in the window when suddenly I get a call. And the call was from CCA, Charles Correa Associates. Obviously it's a luck. So when I started talking about my experiences, there are going to be a big amount of space which is going to take care about the luck. Yes, I consider myself too much lucky to receive the call from CCA. So first, when the office boy called me and he said that he is asking me to join the CCA, I refused. Obviously, because we all have the notions and we all have different stories for different persons. So I have heard that Charles is very much strict about his architectural practice. He doesn't allow people to do anything in the office, etc., etc., etc. So I simply rejected the offer. After a few minutes, I got a call and Charles was on the other side. And obviously, I could not say no to this complete conversation. And I joined the architectural experience at Charles Correa of Architecture. And there I started to understand the actual architecture and what actually it does mean to be an architect. I'll explain you that ahead with the stories, but I feel lucky myself that it's like a philosopher's stones which have completely changed a person like me who was more about completing the drawings, and then right now I am talking about the spaces. It was like a finding the guru, but it was a finding a guru within, not in Charles. It was an initiated process for learning. So, for an example, let's talk about one experience. One fine day, Charles came and asked me, do you know about the pinhole camera? I said yes. Do you know about the Mona Lisa? I said yes. Then his question was, how do you think Mona Lisa was painted? I was in Charles Correa's office. Charles Correa himself was in front of me. And rather than discussing about architecture, he was asking me about the pinhole camera. So pinhole camera is basically, there are two boxes. One box has a translucent surface, one box has one hole on the other side. And that hole reflects the complete inverted image on the translucent surface. That is, I think, the first part or first stage of the camera. He laughed and said, you know what, I wanted to make a blank wall behind me in my office, make a hole and see all trains and tracks on this wall live. But like me, I would like to select air more than the light. But I think that is the only way that Mona Lisa was painted till the perfection. I couldn't understand what he was saying. But what I could understand is architecture is not only in the syllabus. It is not only in the way that we learn or we have been taught. So architecture is everywhere in all possible ways. You just have to find out the ways to see it. Next part. One of the day I was designing something under Charles and I told him, okay, sir, I think this design will look nice. He got so much curious and he said, there is only one person who designs here and that is Charles. That is the value of the architect I think we should have. The hold on the project that each and every corner, each and every screw that we design should be known to an architect. Pride that architect should carry. That detail that I was working on, he liked it very much. But at the end he said the details are nice, but at the end it's going to be called as Correa's design, not Devendra's design. That is a pride that he was trying to hurt in me. Few times he used to say, I should have followed FLW, then Le Corbusier, my design would have been more alive. The person like Charles Correa, the legendary architect of the world, at the age of 81, talking about learning more and accepting and being honest about his whole practice is a complete different way that I could see in him. And at the end, that we all know that architecture should be inclusive of social agendas. It should hold a capacity to change the lives. Otherwise, they are a mere building. They are only the heap of stones and cement and mortar. So what he told me is these are all my principles. you shouldn't be copying them. Architectural principles, you need to find your own, and you need to. So as I said, I was still trying to do the masters, and I extended my scholarship and the admission for the next year, and by that time for next semester, and I told Charles that Charles, I need to leave for the masters. I thought he would be more supportive, but he suddenly forced 3 questions on me. 150 years weren't enough that you want to be again slave to them. UK. What will they teach you that you think you can't learn? And if you want to learn, tell me who was the first architect in the world who taught him architecture? And answer me all these questions, and then you can go and do the masters. All these 3 sentences were so much remembered, or they are like carved in my mind, that I actually started thinking that the way I have been taught, is it right? Is it wrong? It is the only syllabus that is supposed to be taught, or I haven't taken enough efforts to learn on my own. And the complete idea of doing masters dropped out from my mind, because according to him, no one can really teach architecture. It can be only learned. Now, in the next slide, I will tell you that why no one can really teach architecture. So after this, all the idea of the house, subject, topics, syllabus, everything which was there coupled up in my mind was supposed to be erased, and it was supposed to be unlearning, but unlearning architecture. So what was the best way of teaching architecture, or best way to learn architecture? So in one of the meetings, architect Christopher Berenger told me that if you want to really teach architecture, I said, yes, I want to teach architecture. He said, or you want to learn the architecture? Because the best way of learning architecture is to teach the architecture. And then suddenly my eyes were open. I started thinking, yes, I had decided to unlearn, I had decided to relearn. The only way it could be that I could teach. But while teaching it also, as Christopher Berenger says in his books, Letters to Young Architect, that the surgeon cannot teach a surgery if the surgeon is not practicing. So you need to be in the field, understand the changes, incorporate them in the teaching, and then teach them. Don't make it like a syllabus, make it like an experience for the students. So I tried doing that. That is the best way to learn, that is to teach. And this is the favorite quote by LIK, that I love English history. I have 8-volume editions with me. I read them all the time. Actually, I have read only first few pages of the first volume. I don't think the history was exactly the way it is written. I read the volumes, and that is what started myself questioning each and everything that I was teaching. So in 2012 and 2013, there was one nice workshop that was planned with architect and my mentor, Munshi sir, where we were trying to relate the architecture with the art. And the art was the music, which is one of my favorite. And we called the musician Kaushal Inamdar, Maharashtrian musician Kaushal Inamdar, who doesn't require any kind of a introduction, who was a part of it. He was talking about the music and I was talking about architecture. And we were trying to draw some parallels within them. During that, he said that dear, unlearning is basically dropping down your own existence and being one with the art, where only art remains and the artist only remains as a mere instrument. After that, he added, if you imagine, the most successful female background singer is Lataji Mangeshkar. When Lataji sings, she doesn't sing like Lata Mangeshkar. When you look at the video, you actually feel that the actress is singing, because Lataji already dropped her identity and she's only singing for the actress. Now, I don't think that in this lifetime I will reach that level, but maybe that is a good way of understanding the unlearning. At the same time, he told his experience where he said that he met a Pula Deshpande and said that he wanted to do something different. And Pula Deshpande told him, don't try to be different, do what it is supposed to be need. and it itself will become different. So don't try to become a different thing. I still wanted to add one more small thing, that Pandit Bhimsen Joshi was interviewed by Pura Deshpande, and Bhimsenji was asked that from which gharana you are. So he said, "Okay, I have considered all the gharanas to be mine because I mix them and I use them and I sing." So at the same time, Pura Deshpande adds, exactly, because if you wanted to do something different, you cannot put horns to the horse and say that this is a new painting of a horse. You need to keep the hoarseness of the horse same, alive, so that it can become a new painting. That is what no one can really teach architecture. It can be only learned, because architecture is a mother of all the arts. This was till I teach. During teaching, I was getting small experimental works, and this is the first work. Small opportunities are often the beginning of the great enterprises. Taking college students to the Sanjay Gandhi National Park, one day, I came across the range forest officer who was searching for an architect, the sensible architect, according to him. And what he told me, that he wanted to get the rest house veranda done. If the veranda is sensibly done, then you can do the bedroom. If the bedroom is sensibly done, then you can do the living room. And that's how we took the challenge. These are the views of the verandas. Nothing else. There is nothing. There are no Italian marble on the floor, because I don't think the jungle floor has to be the Italian floor. It doesn't have the metal railing. Doesn't have a shiny stainless steel railings. It doesn't have a POP false ceiling. It just have the reused sleeper wood ceiling, and it looks so calm that people are most of the time sitting in this veranda rather than being inside the house. Nevertheless, this is the inside of the rest house, where you can see the wooden false ceiling, minimal use of materials, because it's supposed to be the rest house, and that too within the forest. This is the living room and the mural on the wall. The trees are kind of telling people that they are waiting to either bloom or they are about to die. But I think it's a personal interpretation that they can take. Now, while doing this rest house, just next to it, there was a water hole. Understanding the client. These water holes were supposed to be made after every 3 years, because during the summers there is a scarcity of the water. So wild animals should come and drink the water. But what the CCF at that time have seen, that leopards, deers were not that much friendly to come to such kind of water holes, because they were not natural. The cement, you can also see, it looks something someone have put it over there. So he said, can you do something different? The answer was very simple. What we did is we just made the bigger dig in the ground, put the plastic, put the river stones over there, cover it from all the side, and then filled up with the water. This is the process. And at the end, what we got was this natural looking water hole. The size is obviously 5 times bigger than the expected ones, but the cost is also 1/5 from what was expected. And the maintenance, till now, I don't think they have done any kind of a maintenance. And yesterday only, I did a click of the same water pond, where you can see the lilies, lotus, and monkeys, and everyone jumping in this pond. That is what is the first experiment of unlearning and relearning. If you have some set of an idea, it takes a time to take out these ideas from the mind and then refill with the new ones. I think this was the first good experience for me. So when rest house number 3 was complete, the same reference went to the new department of a forest department only, where architecture was about designing. It was about just completing the maze of a mosaic with the right pieces at the right point. When I was given the site was like this. They were like, structure to ban gaya hai, but it is not looking nice. Can you please do something nice? At the same time, if you can see on the right hand side picture, there are metal stands. They are kept at different level, because no one could understand how to put them and make it look nice. All the material was on the site. We took the measurements, and we gave our first proposal. This proposal was finalized at that time only, and we finished this building, which was stuck up for a year within 3 months. So these are few images of that center. So this is the first coastal and marine biodiversity center in Maharashtra that came in Airoli, Navi Mumbai. After this, the director of the Mangrove Foundation started trusting me and my colleague Kushan. Like any damn small screw has to be done or screwing has to be done, he used to call us. Are we doing it right? Are we doing it wrong? And I felt that that is what the trust is. And that is how he offered us the other projects. Now, these projects are about mangroves. So we are designing 2 mangrove parks, out of which one is about to build and one will be built shortly. So what is mangroves? So for people from different part of Maharashtra, the only coastal people will know about the mangroves because that comes where the sea or a creek meets the land. But the idea of mangroves is completely different for the people. It's smelly, it's swampy, there are mosquitoes, and it is a dirty place to go. Now, mangrove department wanted to change this idea. So they thought that we can make a different tourism points like a green recreation, where different functions are given at different places. So we said okay, and we took Gorai and Dahisar as a priority base because Airoli just had got one coastal and marine biodiversity center. I will talk about the Gorai and Dahisar projects now. These are the first images of the both projects. So Gorai Mangrove Park and Dahisar Mangrove Park. The first question that came to my mind, because when I was talking about this to my friend said, why do you want to go into the forest and break the forest and make a structure? It is not right. And I also started thinking, why we are doing this? So we started inquiring people, interviewing people, how much do they know about the mangroves? And shockingly, this was the answer. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
And the video?
No, the video was not audible.
Can you please again share the video?
Yes. Can you hear the audio right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Devendra, can you
Yes.
please reshare it with clicking on that audio tab? Because still it is not audible.
Okay, just give me a minute.
साफ करने का काम करता है आणि तरी जर झाड जर असलं तर उपयोग होतो का बर ते पाण्याला
Yeah, now it's audible.
मैंग्रोव होना चाहिए क्योंकि वो कम होने की वजह से फ्लूड काफी बढ़ गया है और परेशानी हो रही है जगह जगह से हर जगह से काट रहे हैं मैंग्रोव तो ये बहुत मुंबई के लिए बहुत ज्यादा खतरनाक है त्या सुनामी जे येतात भूकंप होतो समुद्रात त्याच्यापासून जे सुनामी येतात ते पाणी रोखतात त्याच्यामुळे आपल्या सिटीचं संरक्षण होतं शहरामध्ये पाणी येण्यापासून वाचतं
So what is the need of such projects and how to make it? So if you have seen, people have very wrong idea about the mangroves. According to them, they are dirty, but they have saved Mumbai or the coastal cities so many times from the different kind of cyclones and at times on tsunamis also. So how to make that awareness on the bigger level, on the mass level? How to change the view of the masses? For example, right now also we can see we are going through pandemic, but people are still not wearing a mask properly. So that even the wearing mask is a more important for your lives compared to the saving mangroves. Can these environmental approaches be enforced overnight? Can we make a rule or a norm so that people will understand it? So that is also not possible. So how to make these parks without harming the existing biodiversity and taking people along with us? So we made strategy. The strategy was very much simple: attract, educate, and then engage them. So why to attract them? This question is for everyone. Being in any city, how many times have you been to the museums in your city? Hardly once. And being a Mumbaiker, or maybe being a person who is more inclined towards art, I have also been to the museum maximum twice. So how do I make a person to come here and become a part of the environmental issues or environmental awareness things? So give the attractions which are really, really unique to the place. Do not repeat them. Make them unique so that the person will keep on coming over there. Focus on to the children's so that they will get their parents along with you. They will get their siblings along with them. When they come to the site, along with the entertainment, educate them. Slightly tell them that look at that bird gives such kind of a noise. Look at the snail. Look at the snake. And then when they are interested enough, then you can easily engage them and make them play in the mud, in the muck. Let them climb the mangroves. Let them do the kayaking and be a part of environmental issues and environmental awareness. So what kind of attract things that we can do? So we can have adventure, we can have recreation, we can have thrills. During education, we can incorporate educational systems, we can have special lectures or the seminars. They can take people to the mangrove trails and at the end engage them. I don't expect everyone to come and plant a mangrove tree, but if someone is stopping someone from throwing a water bottle in the mangroves, I think even that is a part of engagement that I would expect from the people. So after all this scenario, we came to the design. Now, if we all are aware, mangroves are highly protected areas, and each and every project which is supposed to be done in the mangroves should be approved from the High Court, because if we need to save the Mumbai, we need to save the mangroves. So in that condition, how to make a structure bang within the mangroves? So the answer was unconventional, that don't have a plinth. Elevate the structure, make the structure over there, make people walk above or at the eye level of the mangroves, use the materials which does not leave any kind of a residue while construction, make it in such a way that it is 100% sustainable, 100% environmental friendly. So while talking about the education institutes, research and scholars, and leisure adventure, these are the three types of users that we are targeting. And which kind of activities that we are giving them, it's shown in that map. Talking about Gorai and Dahisar, these two projects are actually nearby. So we thought to connect them by the waterways so that we can focus different functions at different projects. So Gorai being very much close to the SL world, we focus towards tourist orientation. And in Dahisar, which is more segregated, that you will actually see the site, and I am sure that you will fall in love with the site, was supposed to be kept only for the recreation, research and education projects.
महाराष्ट्राला 720 किलोमीटरचा किनारा लाभलाय. ह्या किनाऱ्यावर 7 जिल्हे, 28 तालुके आणि 30,000 हेक्टरवर कांदळवन अर्थात मॅनग्रोव्ज अस्तित्वात आहेत. निसर्गाचं वरदान असणारं कांदळवन, खेकडे, अनेक प्रकारचे मासे, कालवे, सागरी कासव, अनेक प्रकारचे पक्षी यांचं आश्रयस्थान आहे. भारताची आर्थिक आणि महाराष्ट्राची राजधानी असलेल्या मुंबईला 50 चौरस किलोमीटर म्हणजे 5,000 हेक्टरच्या वर कांदळवनाचं वरदान मिळालंय, ज्यात वर्षागणिक वाढच होते, जे जगातील कोणत्याही महानगरापेक्षा सर्वाधिक आहे. त्यामुळे ह्या महानगराचं पर्यावरणात्मक संतुलन सांभाळलं जात आहे. तरीही अशा कांदळवनाबाबतीच्या गैरसमजुती आणि जागेबद्दलची हाव यामुळे कांदळवनांच्या उपयुक्ततेकडे पूर्णपणे दुर्लक्ष करून त्यावर अतिक्रमण होत होती. महाराष्ट्र शासनाने यावर माननीय उच्च न्यायालयाच्या आदेशाप्रमाणे शासनाच्या ताब्यातील कांदळवनांना राखीव वनांचा दर्जाही दिला आणि इतर अनेक उपाययोजना करण्यासाठी स्वतंत्र कांदळवन कक्षाची उभारणीही केली. फलस्वरूप राज्याच्या कांदळवन क्षेत्रात 82% वाढ असून ती देशात सर्वात जास्त आहे. तो इतकंच पुरेसं नाही, सामान्य जनतेला कांदळवन क्षेत्राचा प्रत्यक्ष लाभ मिळाला पाहिजे तर पर्यावरण पूरक पर्यटन कांदळवन उद्यानं तयार केली पाहिजेत. विविध वयोगटातील पर्यटकांना आकर्षित करत कांदळवनाबाबत परिणामी मुंबईच्या पर्यावरणाबाबत जागरूकता निर्माण करून त्याचा पर्यावरण अनुकूल कार्यात समावेश करून घेणं हा या प्रकल्पाचा मूलभूत हेतू आहे. 8 हेक्टरवर प्रस्तावित प्रकल्पात निसर्ग माहिती केंद्र, कांदळवन मार्गिका आणि पक्षी निरीक्षण मनोरा अशा घटकांचा समावेश आहे. हे उद्यान निर्माण करताना वापरण्यात येणारं साहित्य पर्यावरणपूरक अर्थात इको फ्रेंडली वापरण्यात येणार आहे. निसर्ग माहिती केंद्र हे जमिनीपासून उन्नत आहे, जिथे कांदळवन, घनकचरा व्यवस्थापन, परिणामी पर्यावरण जागरूकता निर्माण करणारी माहिती अद्ययावत पद्धतीने मांडण्यात येणार आहे. कांदळवन मार्गिका ही संपूर्णपणे उन्नत असून कांदळवनात मार्ग काढत पर्यटकांना त्यातील जैवविविधतेचं बारकाईनं निरीक्षण करण्याचा वाव निर्माण करेल. विविध पक्ष्यांच्या निरीक्षणासाठी निरीक्षण मनोरा प्रस्तावित असून भरतीच्या वेळी कयाक ट्रेलचा विकल्प सुद्धा उपलब्ध असेल. अशा पर्यावरणपूरक प्रकल्पाचा आराखडा निसर्गाला कोणतीही हानी होणार नाही याची दक्षता घेऊन तयार करण्यात आलाय. संपूर्ण प्रकल्पात एकही खारफुटीच्या संपूर्ण तोडीची गरज नाही हे या प्रकल्पाचं मुख्य वैशिष्ट्य आहे. तसंच प्रकल्पाची विद्युत गरज लक्षात घेऊन अक्षय ऊर्जेचा म्हणजेच सौर ऊर्जेचा वापरही केला जाणार आहे. तयार प्रकल्पाच्या देखरेखीसाठी आणि नियोजनासाठी लागणाऱ्या एकूण कर्मचाऱ्यांपैकी 80% कुशल आणि अकुशल कर्मचारी हे स्थानिक असतील, जेणेकरून हा प्रकल्प स्थानिकांसाठी एक रोजगाराची संधी उपलब्ध करेल.
So, just because the video was in Marathi, I would like to explain that in English, that the project have got the permission from the High Court. It's about to get started on the site, and we are actually creating 90% of the electricity which is required for the center. So you can imagine on the Saturdays and Sundays when the center will be closed, that much energy will be given back to the grid. We are not throwing any waste on the ground, any waste in the creek. We are reutilizing for the center. The second site, that is Dahisar Mangrove Projects. Look at the site. There is a story behind it. If you see this road in between, the first site that was given us by the foundation, by the Mangrove Foundation, was something which was really nicely connected with the road. And as an architect, if you get an access, if you get the land, obviously it's like a dream to design in such kind of a greenery, where you can imagine yourself giving all possible views to the site and everything. So that was the first site which was given it to us. But when we checked it, so this is the patch, the land patch that you can see over here. That was the land where we were supposed to make a structure and have a jetty just onto the next stream. But that was not the plan again. The site got changed because the coordinate fall into the private property, and the site that we got now was much more away from the main road connection, and it is not walkable. So imagine from the main road you are supposed to go to 1.2 kilometers only to reach your site. So if we see, we were standing somewhere over here where the road ends, and after that the site is somewhere over here on that part, which you will obviously see in the next slide. The small patch where less number of mangroves are there on the left hand side, that is the patch which is selected for the construction. The only advantage from the site was, if you go onto the roof of the structure, you will not see anything on the west side of the site, and suddenly you will start the city on the right hand side. So imagine if anything happens on the main Western Express Highway or in the city, it will not be seen or it will not be heard from this side. It is so quiet. So this is the proposal for Dahisar Mangrove Park. These are actual footages from the site where the water is not dirty, and all these different kind of creatures are easily seen. So, as I said, these two sites, Urai and Dahisar, they are connected by the waterways. So coming back to the same projects, the left hand side is a Gorai, the right hand side is a mangrove, the Dahisar Mangrove Park, and these are the locations. And unlearning the obvious, because what I have understood when we used to teach in college and when I used to learn in college, when we are talking about a wall, it was obviously the brick wall. We have never thought of anything else in the brick wall. Then we thought of C4X, but we never thought of anything other, another material which can be used in such kind of areas. So that was the first ice breaking for us, where each and every material was supposed to be shown, used and proven to the High Court so that it will be allowed. And these are the projects which are designed at that point. Now, after that, there is one more story about Rusty Cat. So what is Rusty Cat? Rusty cat is a smallest cat which is wild cat and only found in Indian subcontinent, India and Sri Lanka, and it is 6 times smaller than the regular leopard. So let's see how. So Sanjay Gandhi National Park was keeping these cats and they were trying to save them and conserve them from last few years. But whenever the cat was giving a birth to the kittens, somehow the cat was eating her own kittens and they couldn't understand why the situation is happening. So they called an expert from UK. They had a word, but the person who came from the UK said that he will only discuss this thing with an architect. And me being well known to the person, one of the officer called me up and we started discussing things about the Rusty Cat and designing the Rusty Cat enclosure, but for conservation and breeding. It is not a zoo. It is not the enclosure only to keep the cats. The main agenda is conserve them, breeding them, and then leaving them back into the jungle. So look at the size. It's 41 centimeter long and 1.4 kg weight. And the size of the enclosure that we came up was 15 meters by 4 meters. Imagine the bedroom that I'm sitting right now is 3 meter by 3 meter. I am somewhere around 100 kgs and my height is around 6 feet. But the cat was given 15 meter by 4 meter. Most of the people who were there in the forest objected this size because according to them, the cat should not be having that much of a size as an enclosure. So what we did, Neville Buck, the specialist, told us clearly, if you want to torture a cat, you can keep it in a box and you can keep it. But if you want the cat to live happily, you have to give this size. And fortunately, I think all those who were opposing me and Neville for this size are understanding this, because from last 6 months we have been under quarantine condition where our house itself is becoming like jail to us. So if you see, there is in the plan, there are circles which shows about male, female, because they are supposed to be bred. There is supposed to be the closed area and enclosed area and the garden. And just for the cat to feel that it is in the jungle, there are supposed to be the landscaping part done. That is the one more part of unlearning. What are the norms? Question everything around. More questions you ask, more you learn. Questions cannot be wrong. Answers can be wrong. So we designed the center for around 12 cats. We changed the location. We shifted them away from the tigers. We shifted them away from the leopard cage. And the first prototype was made. You can see the red lines, which are just to make them safe from the leopard. You see the yellow lines in between the sections. They are for the individual cats. The person in between who is going to be the caretaker of the place. And if you see the last section, we have placed the leopard on the roof also. So it's like a chain link on which the leopard can sit but cannot touch the cat. And the box where the cat should not see anyone who is outside, and the trap doors. All these detailings, which I think I would have never learned if I have been active part of this kind of or such kind of a projects. And I'm really lucky to get such kind of project, because I don't think everyone will get such kind of projects off the shelf. But using them as an opportunity was really, really nice for us. These are the modules. The wooden box that you see is a closed enclosure, and the remaining part where the landscape is yet to be grown is an open enclosure. And this module is only for one cat, which weighs 1.4 kgs and length is 41 centimeter. Now designing Giants of the Sea. This is my last project that I'm going to talk about. So you might have heard in June 15th, there was a huge carcass, blue whale, came up towards the Uran seashore. And overnight I got a call from the officer that, what do you think? Should we keep the carcass? Should we keep the skeleton? What do you think? Can we make a museum? And obviously, the answer was yes. But obviously the questions are there and problems should be also there. This is the site. Again, densely placed within the mangroves. So if you remember the first center, coastal and area marine biodiversity center made in Airoli, just near that we are supposed to make this museum. The location is very much near to the Mulund Airoli bridge. So the shade that you see, the museum is supposed to be over here, and it falls under CRZ norms. CRZ norms, Coastal Regulation Authority norms. And as per that norms, you cannot make a new plinth, except few conditions where the plinth is supposed to be made for educative proposal or for research. And thankfully, the museum comes under educational proposal. So considering this site, the museum comes over here, where we are going to keep the skeletons, kids area, activity area, play area, and etc. 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 But as I asked the question to myself and to others also, what is the requirement of the museum and why the museum should exist? This is the design, where it looks like this from plan. But design strategy or the design concept was the questions again. So what is the museum? Is it a storage of a knowledge, or it is the experience of learning? Is it a built structure compulsorily, or it can be unbuilt? It should be formal, or it can be casual also. So whenever I look at these questions, I compare myself with it. If someone forcefully puts an information in my mind, I do not learn it. But sometimes casually, these things can be easily absorbed. So we decided to make it more casual. We decided to make it unbuilt, and we decided to make it an experience of learning other than just making it like a storage of a knowledge. So what did we do? We just made one ground floor where the metallic structures will be there. It is a G+1 structure, but I would say a volume, in which the skeletons will be hanged. This is the main museum, and these arrows will allow people to anytime go out to the garden, come inside in the museum, and that is how we can make them to use the museum more than the relaxing space, just covered with the roof. These are the views of the museum from the east and the west side. So series of built and unbuilt spaces where it can change. And as more important it is, the path for the people to follow. The red lines are for the upper level and the white lines are for the lower levels, where you will go on to the yellow lines, which are going to be your outdoor exhibits. So prehistoric giants. So once you get a ticket, you can be in this museum garden anytime, anywhere, and you can be a part of this museum, which will be simply supported on these points with the roof. So I don't think it will have any kind of a leakage issue because of the material and the design. These are the sections where a person can see the giant skeletons at the lower level, at eye level, wherever possible. The giant squids and all possible things will be kept inside the museum. These inclined walls will be used as projective screens in the evening. Because, as I said, I have visited one museum twice, but only twice in my 32 years life. I want people to come here often. So if I change the story and project the stories differently, the place or the museum itself will become a live hub for the people. More and more they come towards the site, more and more they will get involved into understanding the site and understanding the mangroves. The walls will be painted completely with a different kind of a prehistoric paintings. So one of the story that has been told to me by Mr. Vasudevan sir, that at times the blue whale oil was used to lit up the complete America, and that's why the number of blue whales were reduced at that point of a time. After electricity was generated, it again got re-established. So all these different stories, we need to tell them more than only exhibiting the information on the wall. What will happen next to it is the fate. So what was the unlearning till now? So finding our own strength in the field, striving continuously to be better in it, focusing on the opportunities available around. When you are growing as an architect, even a small work can lead you to the masterpiece in your life. Don't neglect even a smaller project in your life. More than idealizing anyone, try to build, find, and create your own ways. There can nothing be right and wrong in architecture. It's either disaster, and at the end, not less, but being wise is about unlearning, not just learning. Having questions, not just answers. Silencing the mind, not just activating it. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I hope it was informative and it was to the point, which we expected it to be.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Devendra, for such a wonderful presentation and showing us your journey. From your project, I remember the quote by Zaha Hadid that I don't think you can teach architecture. You can only inspire people. Now, I request Architect Sujata Godbole ma'am to kindly conduct the question and answer session.
Thank you, Vaijayanti. Your presentation was exceptionally good and helpful for the students. Your work is very amazing. I would like to thank Professor Munshi sir for who helped us in organizing this session. Thank you, sir. Now, my first question is, as most of your projects are of forest department, do you find any difference while working with government agencies and private agencies? How much creative freedom do you get in that?
Yeah, it's actually a very different question because limits are everywhere. Financial limits are there, then space constraints are there. But I feel myself very lucky to be in the forest department because I don't have to follow any bylaws blindly. For example, if I'm designing anything in a city, I get a plot. I have to leave 3 meters, 6 meters, 3 meters, 6 meters without having any argument. But in the forest department, if I'm leaving 3 meters, I can leave 1 meter if I am proving it's supposed to be right. Now that leverage is given it to me. So as an architect, as a designer architect, yes, I get really, really good opportunities to work in the open land. You might have seen the sites. They are obviously beautiful. So irrespective of the site visit, you can just go and sit on the site, and that is a completely change in your mind. But that doesn't happen in the other personal projects. At the same time, working with the government is more relaxable because they have their own strategies always made, and I feel it's more safer. And that is also one of the unlearning for me, because when I was learning, I have decided that I will not work in any kind of a government project. I will only do the private because that is more money making thing. But right now I am more satisfied than being more money making person.
Very good. Next question is, you have worked on various projects. Tell us which project is your favorite.
Which project is my favorite? It's completely difficult because all are my favorite, because I don't if you just look at my laptop, there are actually plenty options for one project. So out of that, I would say Giant of the Sea, that is going to be upcoming project. This one is around 15th option from my side, and I wish Kushan could have been over there along with this, because he's the one person who used to say कि अभी हो गया, अभी बस कर दो, इससे ज़्यादा नहीं करना है. But the next day, overnight, there will be a new design, and it is like a complete different scenario. I actually like working with Giant of the Sea. I'm enjoying it.
क्या बिकॉज ऐसा होता है ना कि कुछ कुछ प्रोजेक्ट हमको बहुत सेटिस्फेक्शन दे देते हैं कि यस, ये प्रोजेक्ट करने के बाद मेरे को बहुत अच्छा लगा. ऐसा कोई मोमेंट, ऐसा कोई प्रोजेक्ट?
Yes, that moment is Rest House number 3. It was really, there is also a story behind it. We were supposed to put gypsum in the incline, and I was walking on the road and I just saw that mini train ka kaam chalu tha. So they have taken all the sleepers, and I asked the truck driver that ye sab kuch kahan pe ja raha hai? They said okay, this is going to be thrown out and burned out. And I was like, why? So I suddenly called the director. I said, okay, I want this wood. I want to try something new. He said, why? But those are the wastage material. I said, no, but I want to try it. And he allowed me to do that. So once we put those wooden sleepers in whole house, I think more than the images, you need to be in the place to feel that. Because in the image, you might feel it is very dull, but when you start entering from the forest, and when you be in the forest, that is like my first moment that is it really created by me or not. I hope that will continue with my future projects also. But yeah, that is the condition for the Rest House number 3.
Thank you. I request Himani, our 4th year student, she want to ask you something. Himani?
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, how do you relate a building with a living thing? Like you said, the architecture should be a living thing which should adapt, breathe. So how would you relate? How would you make it possible?
It's actually not on me to make it possible, because I think it is the way it is. See, what happens if you leave a stone in your house for 5 days? If you remove it after 5 days, you will start feeling absence of that stone in the house itself. It's not even a structure. And more than that, I think it's one of the good example, if I can use Charles's word. We did renovation of Jawahar Kala Kendra, Jaipur, and people were bombarding us with the questions that how dare you change the color from the terracotta to grey color for the contemporary museum. Charles said, my buildings breathe, my buildings are alive. If you can change from dhoti to trouser to jeans, Why can't my building change the color? So I think that is what is the easiest way of making it. But yes, when you be in the part of any kind of a city, I still give one more example where I used to go to school. There were used to be a series of temples, and bachpan mein you just follow your parents. So when my mom used to do the prayer, I also used to do this. Now I am so much used to the pathway that even if I am sleeping in an auto or maybe in a car, I'll end up doing this. That is how the space is related to you. So if the space itself is relating to you like a live thing, I think the buildings are just an envelope to it. That's it, nothing else.
Okay, sir.
I hope you answer the question. If you have still a doubt, you can still ask me. It's okay.
It's clear. Thank you, sir.
Nikita, you want to ask something?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, sir. My question to you is, what is your thought or any baseline which defines your style of working, and in what way do you proceed to give your own architectural style or identity to any structure or any of your design?
Okay, so a really nice question, because that is how we try to understand in few of the architectural projects that what is my style. So if you see, even though I consider Charles as one of my inspiration and my guru, the architecture language is not that much relating to him, because somewhere I have been taught by different agencies and different things around it that do whatever is required to be done for the site. The way I said, unlearn Lataji, when Lataji sings, she drops her own identity and only the art remains over there. So I don't think I have any kind of an architectural style. If someone tells me now, the Giant of the Sea, the museum that we have seen, it is completely inclined. Now let me tell you the frank reason. There is no concept for that triangular structures. But when we did the coastal area building, it started getting the seepage because it's just banked to the creek. So water will creep into the structure and structure will start looking ugly maybe in next 2 years. When I am having that structure itself touching the ground, which is the roof material, which doesn't allow any kind of a moisture to go up, I think that resolves my problem. So I can do that in any material. So that is what was the thought behind that museum. So I don't think that I have achieved any style, and I still consider Mr. FLW for in that line, because if you look at Charles's buildings, two buildings can be similarly compared. If you look at the Le Corbusier's building, the two buildings are similar, looking similar. But if you look at the FLW's buildings, there is no stamp for the FLW's design. Each and every building is designed, but still you somewhere know that it is designed by FLW, maybe by the perfection. So I don't think there is no style that I would develop. I hope I would develop.
Okay, thank you, sir.
There is one question. What are your preferred most handy materials?
For designing or for execution?
For designing. It is written, what are your preferred most handy materials?
Handy materials, okay. For designing, so anything is there, because I do sketch on the newspaper, I do sketch on the paper, on the bill, anywhere, on my phone also. So that doesn't make any difference. But for execution, I would say whatever is local and whatever my messengers can actually work with good quality, that is my material. So if I wanted to work with aluminum and the person doesn't know how to work with an aluminum, I will not go for the aluminum material. So it changed as per the context.
One of my colleagues is asking, has your office conducted these surveys? The survey for the mangroves forest. So before before selecting the site and all, have you done any survey through the drone or through the ground or on ground?
Yes. We have done these surveys. We had done the surveys when we realized that the previous site was not actually belonging to the state government. So we had to do the survey privately. So yes, we do the surveys. But sometimes what happens is land parcel is given it to us. And as an architect, you need to find the site within that land of a parcel.
Okay. Himani, you want to ask something?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So I want to ask that what would be the most important parameter to consider while designing in such ecological sensitive areas?
Sorry.
I am asking some of the parameters, like you think some of the parameters to consider while designing in ecological areas.
First is that project really required?
Excuse me.
First question, the first thing, the first answer, or the first most important parameter is really that structure or that project is required to be built or not. So this is one of the questions which has been raised in High Court, that why do you want to build in the mangroves itself? So the answers were very simple. You don't want to see Lata Mangeshkar cutting vegetables. You want to see Lata Mangeshkar singing. You don't want to see tiger in the photograph or maybe on the TV. You need to see the tiger in real, right? So if for that reason, if I really want to tell someone that mangroves are beautiful, I cannot just show them the videos. I want to take those people within the mangroves and then tell them that look at this, the mangroves are really nice. So that first parameter is the purpose. If that purpose is fulfilled, then and then only I will start designing for the project. Otherwise, it doesn't make any difference.
Okay, thank you. What kind of experts were involved in planning the mangrove project?
All. So if I say the brain, my brain is only about 10% of it. Rest, everything is a complete different team. So for the Dahisar project, if you can ask someone or a question, we were fighting about the firefighting issues, because if some kind of an emergency happens, what will happen to the people who are within the structure? Okay, so blind answer could be that they can jump because they are in the creek, so they will save themselves. But that answer is not sensible enough. So we need to make a special way of making the road where the fire vehicles and the ambulances can easily approach the road to rescue the people.
Okay.
So in such kind of a conditions, we have hydrological specialist, we have environmental specialist, we have electrical services specialist, we have ecological person, we have eco-legal person who tells us the norms and everything. But it is like a different threads that I need to handle, rather they are handling me, because sometimes you know that architect takes the charge that I want this partition over here only. So they are then helping and changing their ways out and in. So that kind of things do happen.
Okay, thank you. Nikita, I think you want to ask something?
Yes, ma'am.
Nikita? Yes.
Sir, what have you thought about pollution caused by vehicular activities on site by visitors?
Yes, so I didn't show you the complete plan right now, but we are not allowing anyone towards the Dahisar mangrove structure itself. The parking is well at the road, and then we have electrical cart vehicles which are taking people, elderly people, till the structure and getting them back. And we are allowing only cycles, so and the pedestrians. So electrical vehicles are only allowed, and that will be the part of a ticketing counter itself. So if you have a ticket to enter the structure, you can use the card.
Then the next question is regarding the cat. While designing for animals, which criteria should be more studied?
Rather than more studying the character, you need to get the specialist first, because they know really different things from. So what happens, we needed to understand that if you have seen a box, wooden box where the breeding is supposed to happen, the delivery of the cat is supposed to happen. We were supposed to see them continuously, the process, that how many kittens are they well or not, and everything. So we had put an infrared camera. Okay, so we considered that infrared camera अपनों को नहीं दिखता है, the human beings cannot see them, but the cat was capable of looking at the infrared camera and she was getting inferior because of that. So we had to come up with the infra black camera, which is not seen by the cat. Now imagine, irrespective of how much architectural knowledge do I have, I cannot come up with such kind of a solutions. Rather, as an architect, I couldn't understand why the cat is eating its own kittens. So you have to actually sit and understand the different behavior of the animals, and if you can do it, it's well and good. And if you know that you cannot do it, the way I can accept that I don't know how to study it, so I take a help of the person who actually know them. That's why I said the projects, my intervention is only 10% to 15% as an architect. Rest is completely the consultants who works with us.
Yeah. There is another question. You are working along the coastal line. So what are the design considerations?
As I explained that those are CRZ norms, very strict CRZ norms, where you don't get the permission easily. So I am proud of myself and the people and the team who is working with me for those two projects, because they have got a complete green signal from High Court, which is like one of the first mangrove project which got the clear permission from the High Court. So what happens is, first we understand the requirement of the project, and then we completely change. So right now our brain has been tuned up, where unlearning का अभी learning हो वापस से करना पड़ेगा. I think so. कि when you design something, we strictly say no to concrete. So no to concrete, no to brick, nothing else, no to cement. Okay, if you are going with the line, we can think of the line. We can go for the material. So use any material which doesn't leave any kind of a residue on the side. And if possible, if you can just pack that structure up and take it back along with you, it's well and good. So portable architecture, I think, should be in the form if you really wanted to practice somewhere in the coastal areas.
Okay. There is now the last question. Share your experience of working with architect Charles Correa. आपने अब बता ही दिया है, but there must be some other incidences or your experience while working with him. स्टूडेंट को जानने की बहुत इच्छा है कि आपका क्या वाव मोमेंट कौन सा था? Yes.
Wow moment था कि first, so I told you that first I rejected to work with him because I knew that he is short-tempered, he was angry, he is very strict, and he doesn't like such kind of people generally. So I said no. But second time when the Charles himself have called me, I said yes. And he has said कि एक बार आके जाना, if you like to be in the office, you can be in the office, and otherwise you can leave. So my first day when I entered the office, I hope you people remember architect Kamu Iyer. He was sitting next to the Charles Correa, and they were watching a video along with the complete staff. And they were discussing the details that are used in that building. When I entered the office, and I was like, no one is working. It's like a playful environment. I think I should join this office. And I said, yes, I will work for at least minimum for 3 to 4 months till my next semester opens out for the masters. So I said, yes, I will work. And then it started. So there are wow moments are always, because Charles is like, I remember the office used to shut down at 5 o'clock, but me and Charles, when the Charles was 81 years old, and one of my colleague, architect Dhaval Malaysia, we three were standing for 4 hours and discussing from politics to music, to Indian music, Western music, and we were just going on, and he was just going on. Imagine 81-year-old person not sitting and only talking about different type of arts because he wanted us to share our views about architecture. So that much dedication I haven't seen. And imagine this person used to get up early in the morning and playing lawn tennis and then coming to the office. So he was like a complete different person himself. So if he is there, we used to be scared. We used to be it's like a dad kind of a moment. He can shout at you anytime, and at the same time he can just take care of you. So that was a win moment. And one last thing that he have told me when I have done that detailing wala part, that you just leave this office right now and you dare to work under anyone. Because if you can do such kind of things, then it should be under your name only and not by any other's name. And I was very happy when I left the office. Obviously, when I came back, my parents were angry because they were like, "Humko khana khana hai. Who will feed us? You tell me that." But yes, that much confidence when Charles was showing in me, it was really a good moment for me.
Thank you, Devendra, for a wonderful interaction and also for a wonderful presentation. I would now the formality of vote of thanks. So I thank all the honorable members of our management, Women's Education Society, for their continuous and strong support. I would like to thank Architect Devendra Bavdane and Architect Kushan Shah, who have taken a valuable time from their busy schedule to share their journey with us and Devendra's experience in Charles' office. I would like to thank our principal, Dr. Ujjwala Chakradev, for her guidance and support in organizing this webinar. I would like to thank Dr. Sampada Peshwe for her valuable advice and Sneha Mandekar for the poster. I would like to thank Architect Vaijayanti Yadav and Architect Sneha Mandekar for the efforts taken by them for organizing this webinar and for the technical support. And my dear students, Himani and Nikita, for their contribution in this webinar. Thank you all. Thank you, Devendra, again for sharing such a nice experiences with us. And I also want to thank once again. I would like to thank once again Munshi sir for suggesting you so that we learn so many things from you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.